Hi everyone, it's Chelle from Shell Crochet. Welcome to my June 2025 crochet podcast. Let's see what I've been up to. Hi everyone, it's Chelle. How are you today? I hope you're all doing well. Today is Thursday, June the 26th, and I am coming on to record today because it's finally cool. We just got out of a heat wave. We had temperatures in the mid 35 degrees Celsius range, and we had humidexes in the 44, 45 degrees Celsius range. That's the feels like temperature because of all the humidity. It's been super hot, dangerously hot for a few days from about Sunday till yesterday. Wasn't as bad, but still hot. And today we got some rain. It broke the temperature and also like cooled us down. It's cloudy. So today was definitely going to be the best day to record. If you hear any outdoor sounds, there's birds. I think the long guys are finished, but there's definitely birds chirping out there. The window's open and I have a nice little breeze. So let's go back in time to the very beginning of the month, and I have an initial clip of something and then a later clip of the same finished objects. Good morning everyone. Today is Sunday, June the 1st. And I made another little clunker. I still have a tiny little bit of this yarn. It's all the same yarn. So it's a variegated gray yarn, silvery to gray. And I gave her some pink eyes. That's some of that salmon color. It's very light, and then a little bit of yellow for her little beak. I did look up the video and I don't know, I just kind of like winging them as well. Oh, I used some of that fuzzy thin weight. There was a breezy, maybe blanket breezy, something like that on the little tail too. And I was also thinking to use up the rest of the sparkle scraps from Roll With It Sparkle that I had on the go. So I got one out of that. I'm just sewing in the end on this one, and I have my last one set to go here. Gonna start it with gray. I think we're gonna go into that color next. And then we have these guys to play with. May switch it up a little bit depending on how I go here. That's the fun with playing with scraps. And we'll have a couple of sparkle scrunchies. And then I think today I'm gonna dig into this little bucket beside me, and I pulled out some of these. We have the marled one, the gray, and two blacks left from one of the other Premier bobbins, and I'm gonna hold it double with that latte. I think that's gonna make a really nice hat. It is Sunday fun day, and I am going to do crochet and watch some Blue Jays. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, June the 24th, and I am back in Scrunchie land. I freed up this little bag I had of really thin yarns. This is like thread. It's also super stretchy, and so I loved it for scrunchies, and that's why I got it. But it lasts and lasts and lasts, and I was on a bit of a scrunchie kick at the beginning of the month, and already some of those have walked out the door, so I'm making some more. These ones are more for me. I'm just making them as hair ties. Sometimes I don't want all the extra bulk of a lot of yarn on a hair tie or on a scrunchie. So I first had this tiny little nugget of ice yarn. Where'd those two go? So these four used up this tiny little nugget of ice yarn that I had made a shawl out of years ago. It was really pretty yarn, but it is the complete and utter opposite of the yarn that I'm using here for the bulk of these scrunchies I'm making, because it has no stretch whatsoever. But anyway, that was a really nice one-off ice yarn I had. I'm glad I used it, including that little scrap. And then, yeah, so then later last night, I was just holding double this one and this one. So these are all the same yarn. This is what it was. This is long discontinued as far as I know from back in the day. Let's see if I can keep going in case you want to see. And so I have pretty much exclusively used this to make scrunchies. I think I used it to make a very small headband way back in the day, just playing with some stitches.
And this one here is more than one of them, it looks like, but a lot of this one is in there. Anyway, I am working on some scrunchies, and these are the colors I have. So I freed them from the hidden stash into the yarn room stash so that if I want them, they are there. And because my hair is very salt and pepper these days, I'm using this one quite a bit. I'll hold it with the other colors and then make a bunch. So when I want them, they're hanging around. One that I've been kind of liking for these smaller ones lately, so I put the single crochets in just to cover the headband as many as I can squeeze in. And on the next row, I'm going single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So you still have that sort of essence of the extra stitches making it wavy, but they're only chains. So they're not going to take up as much bulk, give it as much bulk as the thicker ones would if you're doing trebles or doubles and squeezing them all in there. So I kind of like how that looks, just to give it something extra on the elastic. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
So here are what's left. Some things have walked out the building already, so you're not going to get to see everything up close and personal, but you get the idea from the clips and what I've got here. So there's some of the Roll With It Red Heart Roll With It Sparkle, and some just sparkle scraps that I've been using for different things. Regular sort of style scrunchies there. And then I dug out some really thin yarns that you saw, and one of them was just like a scrap of ice yarn. So that one I used up in its entirety. Like I was saying, I was just doing single, chain 2, single, chain 2. So the chain 2s were acting as the extra stitches and make it nice and thin. So I think I've got about 3 or 4 like that. Like that. So they look weird, but they work perfectly well. Much more like a hair tie than a scrunchie. And I like that. I don't like all the bulk sometimes. And then I just did one like literally like a hair tie with just single crochets everywhere, just to cover the elastic. And then I pulled out that stretchy sock yarn. You saw the name of it on the clip, and that's Old Loops and Threads yarn. So that was one of them done that same way. And then I just started to hold it double and made a whole bunch the normal way. So still using a pretty small hook. I think with it held double, I think I was using the 5mm with it held double, and I was doing the regular way, single crochets all the way around the elastic and 2 double crochets in each coming back. And so I was holding different ones of that yarn together, and every time you make one it's different because it's self-striping and sort of got flecks and all different colors in it. So even if you use one yarn and for the whole thing and change up your second yarn, they're all going to look different. So you could even use just the same 2 colors and they're going to look different because it'll stripe through differently. So I did a bunch of them. They're fun. And now I have a stash of scrunchies that are nice and lightweight and not too super thick, but still fun. I keep dropping them on the floor. Anyway, that's enough about scrunchies. I haven't made any in a while. Back at the beginning of the month, I did do a bunch more hats. So let's see if there's any clip about hats.
Hello everyone, today is Wednesday, June the 11th. This is actually the second clip I'm making today, and this one's all yarn related. So here's what I've been up to so far this month. I can't even remember if I've taken any other clips. So I'm giving you a bird's eye view of my whip basket that, I guess it's not my whip basket. I'm giving you a bird's eye view of my FO basket that's usually in the video with us. And this is something I just keep in my yarn room / office. Where when things are finished, I can just throw them in here. So we're gonna dump it out and start from the beginning, and then I'm gonna put it on the floor and put everything in it. So I'm gonna pop up a picture here. As you know, I have been taking some old variegated granny squares that are trimmed in sparkle yarn and turning them into cat hats. And there are remnants of the yarn that I've been using to make into other things. So at the very beginning of the month, I used one of the colors up to make this headband ear warmer that we have been talking about for the last couple of months now. I was still playing with that stitch Jada was showing a couple of videos back. So for you guys now, it'll be in sometime in the month of May, probably around mid-May. She did something, I think a baby blanket using double crochet, single crochet. She wasn't sure if it was a Suzette stitch at the time. I am not either. I think it might be. I've never really done double crochet, single crochet, and then you always work into the single crochets. I've more done the falling leaves where it has 2 doubles and 1 single working into the singles. But it's great for this as well because you get a nice texture similar to the block stitch I have been doing. So you guys know the drill on these, and we've been talking about them for a couple months now, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but using up this yarn, which we've now had several projects done with. So the cat hat for this was done last month, and now I had this used up, and then I pulled out my the second latte cake that I have just readily available to me in roasted tomato. I found another one when I was playing with the yarn, thought I had used it all up. So that is a nice reddish tone. So that was one of the first hats. And that is my scrap. I know this little clucker guy was made pretty early on too. This is another scrap. So all of this is the same yarn, even though there was quite a bit of the lighter color in it. And we just did this with some pink eyes and that little bit of salmon for the crown and the beak. And I did watch the tutorial again so that I have a better idea. But like I say, I go on this thing where, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of amigurumis, and then I'm not super thrilled. So I make one and I struggle with different aspects. This one, it was probably the eyes. I don't know. It's okay, but I don't love it. And okay, another one of the hats. This one is with a much lighter yarn. I'll pop up a picture of the original cat hat too. It's like beige, cream, pink, but like a dusty rose pink. So it looks really cool with that. And then this one was with just yarn scraps. So this is all Premier anti-pilling yarn that came off of a bobbin for the most part. So you have the black, the gray, and the marled black and gray. This was all using up scraps, and it's even hard to tell where the colors are different, but you can see there's some gray in there. But yeah, just one of my regular beanies. Spiral beanie held double with the latte cake. So it looks much more pink because of it being with black and gray, but that is really nice and really warm. I'm loving doing all these double-stranded hats because that way they're super warm for people. This was just an experiment based off the sun that I made the last time. It's not a good experiment. I'm not going to go into any detail, but I did a lot to kind of fudge it and make it work. I was having some trouble with the embroidery, of course, because that's how I roll. I was trying to figure out if I could make some use of some of these smaller eyes I just honestly want to get rid of, but it didn't work out as good as it could have. This is regular blanket yarn, and then this is that pet one that's really, really thin. I think more like a 4-weight. So it's okay. It would be fine for like a random act of kindness, but I'm not rushing to recreate it. And the most recent stuff. So here's some of the actual squares I was talking about that got turned into cat hats originally, like last time. So we have this blue camo, and then this loops and threads variegated yarn, and then this one had the green sparkle. This is the only one I've actually done post stitches on the bottom because this is very thin, this Simply Softish, I think they call it party yarn. It's really, really old. Debbie gifted to me years and years ago, and it's got almost like a teal streamer, blue streamer in it. It makes it look tealish instead of straight green. And this is a Mary Maxima sparkle with the blue. Streamer matches the yarn. I like that. You get the odd sparkle, but you don't get that, oh, it's silver, oh, it's gold in your face. I like that a lot. So these are just similar, like I said the last time. I put them together, and then they are cat hats. I will have some pictures somewhere in today's video of me modeling a couple of them. And then here is the remnants of that lighter latte cake I was using up with all the beautiful stripes in it. That's the very last bit of it, and it's with that blue camel yarn. I could only make a beanie, no post stitches at the bottom, so it's not slouchy at all, but it fits it fits tightly on me, so it should fit really well on someone and be nice and warm. And then this is that same latte cake with this yarn, so I should do it this way for you. So those are the yarns that are underneath the latte, and that's the same latte being used. And this is the last one. I just finished this one last night. I made the extra granny square, did the trim, joined it all up. This is just some Red Heart Super Saver camo yarn and some Mary Maxim sparkle with gold. And yeah, so I've been busy, kind of boring busy, but I've been busy. Boring for you, and I'm entertained by it, but I feel like when I'm showing the same things over and over again, it's not very exciting for someone who's watching. But at least you know what I've been up to. Back to a regularly scheduled programming.
So the flower has already gone to its forever home, and I don't have it with me, but I do have the clucker. Here she is. She's cute. I like her. The eyes. And it was good to go back and watch that tutorial again. There's another one that I had found before I found the one that was actually I was actually looking for, which is the one Rose from Rose Likes Crochet always has linked in her description box. There's another one. I want to go back and find that too, but it wasn't popping up for me this last time I was looking. This one you start with a circle, and the other one you start straight, and more of like a canoe shape almost happens. So I want to go back and look at that one too. A little bit alarming considering how many emotional support trinkets I have made over the last, say, 10 months that I don't remember. I need to go back and have a peek, but this is just using up some scrap yarn I think I mentioned in the video. Cute. And eventually we'll find a forever home, I'm sure. So these are the cat hats. Finished this one. Definitely not put any hats on today. Finished this one. And finished this one. And for all of these, one square was made. I made the second square, and then I did the trim on the second square, and I put them together. This is the only one that was small enough that I could actually do some post stitches at the bottom. So that was kind of fun. And the rest of them I just did exactly what was needed because I didn't need them any bigger. So those are great. So I can do a new tally on the number of hats and cat hats and headbands that I've got going. So let's put that clip in right now so we can see where we were at. This is what I mean by the box that I'm keeping all of my charity smaller makes in, hats and headbands for 2025. And I'm just about to update it. I'm actually recording this on May the 30th, and you're going to see it at the end of my June video. We will count and then I will update it. So that is our new total and our new category. As you can see, I was trying to rate with the box standing up. Anyway, one scarf because I have this from a while back as a scarf still, and I gave up trying to figure out how else to make that work, so it's a scarf. So we are up to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 27 headbands. We are up to 11 hats, and we are up to 7 cat hats. And then the hooded cowls at the bottom have not changed. We're still at 6 with 1 scarf. And back to our regularly scheduled programming. So after that, 3 more cat hats, and let's see how many more hats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was on a roll with hats at the beginning of the month, and these are using up the rest of the variegated yarn that were in those cat hats held with latte cakes. So that's one. This is another one. This one was finishing up Premier bobbin yarn with that roasted tomato latte. So there's black, marled black and gray all in that hat. I'm going to show you these two together in a sec. So this is, again, one of the yarns from the cat hats. This is an example of how different it can look. So the latte cake is the same yarn, and then the variegated yarns are different. So that's cool. And this one pooled way more than this one as a variegated yarn. And then this one, I made 2. So I got enough to make 2, and I just had to use a little bit of that brown sparkle at the bottom to hold double with it. So I got a couple there. And then this last one, which was the green with that blue latte cake. And I have a little ball left of the roasted tomato latte, but that's basically that. And then I'm on to something else. I freed up a few more latte cakes. So I'm really liking the vibe of holding the latte with another thinner 4-weight acrylic for working on those cozy hats. I think it's going to keep a lot of people really warm. So we get to add all these to the box and get a new total going. And the only other thing here in my bucket, in terms of the stuff that happened at the beginning of the month, was this other headband. So that's just that pink yarn. And I'm actually working on one in the blue variegated yarn right now, but I haven't really made very many headbands. Obviously, I've only made 1 and a bit. So I'll probably only have 2 for the month of the headbands. Same story as it's been for the last few months. Which reminds me, actually, I'm not going to come on at the end of July. I'll probably do some kind of summer vlog just to show you clips here and there, but it won't be me starting off the podcast like normal. The next time I'm going to do something like that will be at the end of September. So I'll just continue to take clips when it's convenient for me in the month of July and the month of August, and I'll throw up a video just of what I was up to over the summer at the end of August sometime. So you guys can see some of the things I was up to, but at this point it's starting to feel repetitive for me, so I can only imagine what it feels like for you watching, because I've chosen to do very similar projects for charity. I'm choosing to be a bit like a conveyor belt and just do the same things over and over again because I'm using up scrap yarn. I'm keeping things fun and colorful and warm. Warm is my key. So I don't think I need to talk to you about that every month. So if I have some more exciting things to do, I'll try to take clips of those as well. But I'm gonna take the summer off and then we'll go back to our normal schedule in September. But I'll throw a video up sometime over the summer for you to see little vlog bits of what I've been doing. So if you ever want to reach me in the meantime, you guys know how to get a hold of me. The information on how to contact me is in the description box of every video. My email address is there, and so is my Instagram connection. I played around with lining a bag. So I had 2 of those granny squares that did not match. This one here, and then I had 1 daisy square. And they both just happened to be trimmed in that metallic black with the gold. So that's why I decided to put them together. And I just made a strap. So I made a little purse. Let me see how I can hold this up to show you. There we go. So I made a little purse, cute. Just happens to have a different square on the back, which I'm fine with. But for the first time ever, I put a button on and used some of that teal yarn to do the button latch. I like this one off puffy button I found. I lined it first time ever. So this is actually part of an old t-shirt. I folded in half. I cut up and made the bottom. I think I could have made the bottom maybe about 1 inch bigger than it is, but I'm fine with it for what it is. This will be something I can grab in the fall winter months whenever I just want a little bag. And it reminds me of a bigger project I made. I made my friend a daisy granny square poncho a few years back. So I have the nice memory, and I think that the reason I had this extra square was because I did the daisy part not exactly the way it was supposed to be done. So I just kept it aside, but it was also the exact pattern I was using for the poncho. So that was fun, and I was happy that I tried lining. I learned a couple of things, and then I promptly went to make a lining for a different granny's bag I made years ago, and I cut that one too small too, so I gave up. So that's in timeout, but one day maybe I'll line that one and bring it back for you to see as well. So actually there's a little bit of crochet on this one. The only crochet I did was seaming up the bag and making the scrap. The rest was just the lining. I think these clips I can run side by side while we're talking because they're not very long anyway, and I'm not really talking about what I did, but I made myself another one of those granny stitch bucket hats with a ponytail spot. And I made it in red for Canada Day. It's already been worn. So there'll be some pictures at some point in this video, probably at the end, of hubby and I at a Canada Day celebration early that was held last weekend at my dad's recreation center where he lives. And his band played and it was great. So that was a lot of fun. And it was great to have the hat. I did end up needing it. The sun was out towards the end of the day, so it was great to have it, and I love being able to put my hair up. And the only other time I did that last year, I did it with scrap yarn, so that hat is fine for me to wear in my backyard or whatever, but if I'm going to go somewhere in public, it would be nice to have one I made intentionally and not just to see if it would work out. So that's the red one now, and it worked out great. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to washing and drying that hat in the dryer so that it tightens up a little bit, because it was that Red Heart Scrubby Smoothie yarn, and it's extra soft. It's a lot softer than like Bernat Handicrafter or Lily Sugar and Cream, so it doesn't need to be for a hat, but it happened to be for the color. So anyway, I was happy that I got that done. And I wanted to make myself a bag, and I think there might be, did I actually take a clip of this? Yeah, I think I did. Have a look.
Hey everyone, today is Thursday, June the 19th, and I am coming on with a little update here. This one's taken a while, so I thought I'd do a little clip. It's just a rainbow plus bag, I'm calling it, to use as a purse, maybe for the rest of the summer. I was finding one of my older ones that I made years ago. It's kind of too narrow because I just folded it in half and made it, which is how this one looks right now, but I actually created quite a bit of a boxed, or yeah, I still call it box bottom, I guess, but very rectangular shaped bottom for this bag. There, I just put my hook case inside to keep the bottom flat instead of folded up. And yeah, I made a rectangular shape before I started turning it into a bag, which of course took more time because it's just one strand of yarn, and the bottom is completely single crochets, and then as soon as I start the color work, I am doing half doubles. And basically this is a scrap project. I'm using up a lot of yarns. Scrap stash project. Some of them were just like little nuggets, like that maroon was just a tiny little ball. There's this one stripe of like a salmony color in there. And I'm just gonna kind of go through the rainbow the best I can and see how far I get through the colors before I want to end it. I don't want it to be super tall, so we'll see. I'm moving on to some of the yarns right here next. Gold and yellow, and then this lighter green to this almost aqua-y color, and then blues. So we will see how she goes, and that's it for today. Hey everyone, just popping in with an update on my Rainbow Plus Pride Inspired market bag / purse I'm making that I think I am going to go back to Frogland on. I've already frogged this once, back to the black. I won't be frogging it to the black this time, but because I was kind of doing scraps meets rainbow, it's getting too tall, and I wanted all the colors for my personal use. So what I think I might do, I can only go back as far as the orange. I've sewn my ends in this far down, and there's obviously the join of the color ends on every side, but also there is ends because it's scrappy yarn. But it's getting too tall for my liking of what I wanted. So what I think I might do is just do some kind of like almost like a fade in and out situation here with the red, back to red after the orange or something like that, and end it, and then do a new one that is all the colors I actually wanted to get in. So before I change it, I thought I'd show it to you. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more half double crochets apparently. I'm also not thrilled with how this part is working out, so I'm going to finish it up and then see how it looks before I start the new one. And yeah, so this part is coming out. It's about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days worth of work. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
So a couple of things didn't work out. I wanted a nice, really rectangular box bottom idea, and I went from using single crochets for the nice tight bottom to using half doubles. And what it did was, even though I made it rectangular, I didn't make it oval. It turned it just oval anyway. So I was glad I took out the yarn as far as I had gotten, because there was no way I was going to make it through the rainbow without the bag being way too tall. So now I've made it into a sunset bag. We're making lemonade out of lemons. And here's my sunset bag. So that's cool, and I think the fact that it looks rounded on the bottom suits the bag for the depth I've chosen now. And there's really no need to line this one, it's tight enough. So it's, I don't remember for sure. I'm gonna say I probably just used a 5.5 millimeter the whole time. That's what I'm gonna guess I did. And there's 2 things I'm gonna do differently once I have forgiven myself for this not working out. Or, I don't know if I blame it on me or the yarn, but it was me. It was my fault. I had some scraps in here that were a lot softer cottons that came from other places like long ago. And I don't even know what cottons they were. But like this dark wine color is one. There's one line of like a salmony color between the red and the orange. And then the red is the scrubby smoothie, and so is the orange, or one of the oranges is. The other orange is even softer. And then the gold is real Bernat Handicrafter Deluxe, which is even rougher than the real stuff, if you could imagine. And then the yellow is, it was from Cambridge Fibers. It calls itself dishy, but it's not the dishy most people are familiar with. And it's got a bit of a texture to it. It's not as smooth as most cotton. So there's a whole bunch of yarns in there. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then one line of salmon. All those colors in there. So I think it turned out great. It just wasn't what I was going for. And at least now I know when I make the rainbow bag that I really want to make, that I have to make the base even bigger than it was, because I have a certain purse organizer that I want it to fit. And I really got to get that bowl shape going, rectangular bowl shape going, for the base before I can even contemplate the colors. I also have to commit to a stitch, so I can't change from single crochet to half double, which means I'm going to have to make the whole thing at a half double so that I don't drive myself crazy with all single crochets. So I guess it worked out, but it just wasn't what was intended, and I think it's a really pretty bag. Moral of the story. I spent a lot of time with my cotton after that, so I got it all sorted out. I know all the colors I actually have, and I can actually plan it out. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to make that bag over the summer or wait till next year, but it was definitely a pride-inspired project that ended up not working out exactly the way I had hoped.
Hey everyone, future Chelle here. This was a cake I was gifted in 2021, and I used it up to make a pride-inspired set of doilies and coasters for my glass table, my coffee table. And I have one for my Brita, that's that one there. I have these coasters. I tried to make little rainbows with some clouds, and we have been using them every year since 2021. And you'll see the full set here with the big mandala I use on my lazy Susan that I love, and it's holding up quite well. And then something I made this year using some of the cotton I have found at Dollarama. It's a super thin size 1 yarn, and I was able to make that for my peanut jar, so it's a full set. And also one other thing in cotton that I forgot to pull out for the podcast yesterday, just some face scrubbies out of some super thin 100% cotton yarn, and I'm going to use those myself. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
So I was playing with yarn for a couple of reasons this month. I actually made it down to the basement to go through some things, and I had this one hank in there that I'm pretty sure Crystal gave me, and it was from Expression Fiber Arts, I believe, and it was like a merino silk blend. But when I picked it up at one point, it came open and I was like, uh-oh, I don't usually work with hanks at all. So I actually took the time to put it on I had this wire rack that I could turn upside down, so similar to using like a chair, because I don't have a Swift. I don't need a Swift. I barely have any hanks at all. And I was able to persevere and wind it into a cake. And so I have the tiniest bit started, probably about 15 rows, but because it's a fingering weight yarn, it's going to be forever before it looks like anything other than just a tiny triangle. Anyway, I've started a shallow shawl in that yarn, and because it's really not very froggable, it's very sticky. I'm just going to do the straight original Carrie Penny tutorial, nothing fancy, all double crochets, and I'm using a 5.5mm hook, I think, with it. So with fingering, that's quite open, so you're getting a bit of a mesh look, which I like. I'm a big fan of, if you want a mesh look without the work of having to do the chain one skip one part, I just use a really big hook for whatever the particular yarn is, and you get like open double crochet look, and it looks plenty meshy to me. So I like that vibe, and I'm gonna go with that and finish that out. That's gonna be probably like a pick up and put down project. I can't really work with wool. I don't like formally know that I am allergic, but when I do work with it, I always feel like a little bit itchy and stuff like that. So I just try not to work with it very much, but it's very pretty. I was very intrigued by the fact that there was silk in it, and when it fell apart, I thought, okay, well, this means I'm gonna have to like cake it up. So I did that. I had to cake the yarn winder out to put some of my cotton all organized to make it more user-friendly for me if I do decide to make that bag. And then I have half of an ear warmer done. And so that, I'll be able to put a picture of that at the end as well. I got a couple more days before I'm going to upload this video. And then the only other thing that I've had in my sort of crochet station that I just haven't felt like doing is those blocks. I haven't made any more C2C blocks, and I haven't even started the granny square blocks. I decided to make myself an outdoor backyard crochet bag so that I don't have to like go back and forth with what's in it. The only thing I have to grab now is a hook. So I have this one project bag set aside with one skein, and it was not even a full skein. It was a started skein of Red Heart Granny Square yarn in the frigid colorway. So I have that just for whenever I feel like working on something in the backyard, if we're sitting on the patio, which is kind of nice to have. And I can always move that to my car bag if I decide that I'm finished with what's in there. So I only made a couple of granny squares of that so far. But yeah, I never got back to working on those blocks. So hopefully I will get a little bit more motivated to do that in July and August, because I really would like to have a couple blankets to put together in the fall to be able to gift them to Project Linus. Yeah, so June was just kind of all over the place, little bits here and there, not a ton of crochet, but some is better than none, right? Okay guys, I have one last clip that I'm going to play at the end of the video. A couple people have asked me about my journals, so I took a little bit of clips for you. Basically with my journals, I just use whatever books that I happen to have, and I like a coiled binding, and I use stickers. That's my journaling. Okay guys, have a great day and happy crochet. Bye for now.
Hey everyone, today is Wednesday, June the 11th. I'm just popping in to answer a question and show you what I've been up to. So I have a couple of different journals. This is my crochet journal, and basically I just use it to track the projects very basically that I'm working on over the month, so that when it comes to podcasting, I can refer back to it if I need. If I don't remember the hook size of something and I don't have a picture, I can just pop it open and find things, but it's very, very basic. I use it to make it fun for myself, not to stress over how pretty it looks. But I like to embellish stuff with stickers. That's just how I do stuff. I don't use glue or anything like that very much. So I have had this for more than 1 year. As you can see, I started using it in 2024. And if I flip it open, where are we? Here's when I started 2025. This is what I was talking about, where I'm keeping all the weights of all those burlap pop scraps I have. So I have a full list there for myself, and I just put it right at the very beginning of what I'm considering my 2025 stuff. And then I have my little embellished start of my book. And I wasn't really doing this in January and February, but I went back and I made some notes for myself so I would have a full year. And it's very basic. Very, very basic. So let's flip to where we are now. So here's June. Not much is written in there yet, because not much has happened yet. And then towards the very end, I think I also mentioned this is where I have my yarn map. And so I basically only allotted myself a couple pages for 2025. So I'm still gonna have lots of paper left in here. And anything yarn related I wanna keep that is tapeable or capturable in a small way. So this is a free pattern I stuck in here from a yarn label on the anniversary cakes. This is the first time I drew out for myself how to do a granny square blanket on the diamond. And this is a snowman wall hanging you could do that I just snipped out of one of my magazines. And I keep the Odd Hirschners or Mary Maxim magazine for inspiration. I have asked them not to send them to me anymore because they were coming too frequently for my liking, but I do have a few, and I could always add things like that in there too. And I just like that book. The book is from the dollar store. I always like a coil because it can open flat, and this one's particularly good because it's a nice hard thick cover. The crochet stickers came from Amazon, I believe. They were a gift. I actually had 2 sets of them, and I've been using them up. I don't have that many left. I often send them out to people that are yarny like me in a card here and there. These are my regular sticker books. These all came from Amazon, and when I was deciding to do a bunch more writing and jotting of things down and keeping life organized, I decided to just use up my stickers and stop being so, what am I keeping this one for? I might need this for this person's card or whatever, because I do use them a lot when I make cards for whatever occasion, birthdays, etc. So this was just a regular notebook that my husband had, and well, for example, that's the back of it. And it had branding on the front, so I just covered it completely with stickers from these books and also some crochet stickers. And then it had branding on the inside cover, and I like to make the first page of a book sturdy, so I did the first page as well, and that's just a lot of inspiration for me for when I am doing things, so that I can keep track of what I'm doing from day to day. This is mainly not crochet related, so this is just life related, and it is another notebook that was just kicking around the house, but it's a nice hardcover. I actually asked him if he could find me any more because it came from his work, but he hasn't yet. Anyway, this one won't last nearly as long, but it will probably last me past the end of this year, and I'm just having fun with it. And again, those books came from Amazon. Let me see if they have any branding on them. There you go. This is how they are on the back. And over the years I've collected them, and I wasn't using them as much as I could have been. So now I'm just finding ways to use them where I can. This is another little sticker box that I have. It's just a wood box that came from the dollar store ages ago. I also have a bunch of stickers that are bigger that are, you know, those kind that are more waterproof, bottle type stickers. And I've used the bulk of them up over the years, but there's some in here that I keep, and I'll keep things like washi tape or pens or whatever else I might want in there. And then I have a place on my craft cart where all this sits. So we're gonna call this the end of this clip, and I'll put it wherever in the video, probably at the very end. And then I'm gonna do a separate one on what I've been working on lately.